Today, me and my buddy Heraclius and Fox might be joining us after he's finished his 12-hour confessional. We're gonna be doing a video about White Album, the visual novel White Album 2, and if we have enough time, we might be covering Julius Evola's The Metaphysics of Anime. So Heraclius, introduce yourself.
Yes, I do podcasts sometimes. There.
Yes, I'm still waiting for that thing about Nightwalker.
Yeah, maybe I'll write a review on that. By the way, watch, if you want a good vampire anime, watch Nightwalker, from what year was that? 97?
I think it was like 90,
2000?
90 no, I think it was like 97, 98, like late 90s, like it's a fucking classic.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if you can call it a classic because it's mostly forgotten on both sides of the Pacific, but it is a very, very good anime. But that is not what we're here to discuss. We are here to discuss White Album 2. Now, Bio Gundam, I'm the one that's brought this VN to your attention and basically bugged you to read it. What did you know about this going in?
Okay, the most I knew about White Album 2 was roughly what the anime covered, because my only exposure to White Album in general is like the anime adaptations, which I thought were decent on their own. Now, when I rewatched the anime, because I rewatched the anime again before I played the VN, I actually noticed that like I actually liked the show a lot more than I did like the first time, and then when I played the VN, especially with the content that the anime covered, it helped. It gave me a lot more perspective of some of the stuff that happened in the actual show. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it can really help contextualize things, and these little scenes, which you thought might not have had as much meaning, start to grow.
So I would say that like if you're an anime only, like World Album 2's anime isn't bad, but you know the
Oh,
VN
not at all.
really brings stuff into perspective, and there's like so much fucking shit shit. Now I wasn't like super shocked at the beginning because most of the stuff was like stuff I experienced in the anime. When we get to the code and other routes, I have a lot more things to say, but like my first impressions kind of going in was, oh yeah, visual novel White Album 2. There's a rom-com, and it had been a while since I'd watched the show, so like I was going in maybe slightly fresh because I'd forgotten a lot of details. But yeah, I actually like for the first chunk of it, like I was quite enjoying it. Like a little bit, I was like skipping around a little bit because I'm like, get to the point. But like it did like recontextualize and give like a lot more context to certain things that happened in the anime. So I liked it for that.
Yes. Yeah, the very excellent part about this, which about this whole VN, which the anime by its nature can't really get across, is the anime displays a whole tragedy in its own. Describes how these three friends came together under certain circumstances, how this love triangle resolved itself, how the threat of all these feelings, knowing that these feelings were there, but not having a chance to commit to them or go through with them, and losing that chance causes the main character to essentially cheat on his girlfriend. This character who otherwise is like the model of like good morals and a certain amount of Japanese rigidness, but is generally speaking the last person you'd expect to do such a
Yeah,
thing
like the
like
thing
that.
about Haruki is like at the beginning you make like my first impression of Haruki when I first watched the show is that he's just kind of like just generic Japanese MC, like he's standard kun, right? But when I rewatched it again, knowing a little bit of what I know about Japanese culture now, and also I'm a lot older than I was when I first watched the show, so obviously I've got a bit more perspective now. I was just like, oh okay, there's a bit more to him. Like he can be a bit of an asshole. He's a little bit of an asshole, and then when you play the VN, it like really retextualizes his like it gives me a perspective on him that I didn't have beforehand. And like yeah, he is kind of rigid, but like the VN kind of like explains why he's like that. And I suspect like it has a lot to do with like his family and stuff and like his circumstances, which the show doesn't really like tackle much. I mean the VN goes a bit more into it, but like you get the impression that like he comes from a very like distant family life.
Yeah, he is definitely a very broken family on his end. Two of the main three have like really, really broken families behind them. And Setsuna is sort of the exception, where she has this incredibly loving, stable family to back her up.
I mean, yeah, like her family is very wholesome. I mean, they even wear like her mother wears like this very nice, like fluffy sweater. Like it's like wholesome family. Like they're just nice people. They're just good people. people.
Yes, yes. So the basic premise, for those who aren't aware, is Haruki's this random guy, high school student.
I know, very original.
Yeah, very original. This is a romance tragedy show, and he bumps into the basically decides that, well, I'm going to try and save this fledgling little light music club. And initially, he's almost given up hope on that. He's like, well, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do for this
I
upcoming
mean, even his friend Chad
Japanese
Kern.
school
Yeah, I mean,
festival.
even his friend
Not,
Chad Kern was going to give up on it.
yeah, Takia was totally gonna give up on it. Takia can be a bit of a flake.
But he is a Chad, and he's kind of based.
He's himself is he's loyal to Haruki, but he himself is not admirable in his own ways.
But he
But
is cool, though.
Haruki, yeah, Haruki just on a whim, and this is actually kind of interesting to me. I fell in and watched this show in response to seeing this scene on YouTube. It's no longer on YouTube, sadly, but it's this wonderful scene at the end of episode 1 of the anime where Haruki is listening, starts playing his guitar, saying, "Okay, this is it. This is done. I don't want to do this anymore." And all of a sudden, he hears this girl singing on top of the rooftop, and he realizes, "Oh my gosh, that's the girl I was talking to earlier. That's Ogiso Setsuna, the class idol, the everything." And she's earnestly singing along. What is this?
Strom boy, Strom.
And he decides to run up there, see who it is. It's her, and he immediately invites her to join the thing, and that gets this whole ball rolling. Where Setsuna herself is this girl who, because of various circumstances in her past, and the silent piano player, who Aoki doesn't even know who it is, turns out to be Toma Kazusa, the rebellious, stubborn, foul-tempered, black-haired beauty that sits next to him, who Haruki is about the only one who will ever actually talk to her because she is so prickly to everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, especially in a normal Japanese context, like, people like that just kind of terrify them.
Yeah, someone who essentially like really breaks the mold and doesn't even show like a basic standard of like etiquette towards another, and doesn't display any of that towards another. Like someone like that's just going to get ignored at best. And that's certainly what's happened with her.
Not that I don't think she minds, though, if you consider who her mother is, like, you know.
But this whole story works together. So first off, Setsuna decides to join up with Haruki on this, and Setsuna, she's the standard idol trope that you see a lot of. Well, I'm the school idol, but I have this other side to me where I'm hiding this from others. I don't want anyone to know about it.
Yeah, she
And in
portrays
her,
herself as like pitch perfect. Like she's almost like too perfect. That's unbelievable. Like in the back of your mind is like, there's no way she's this perfect.
like, yeah, like boring vanilla princess. And she comes from a very middle class family. She has to work part-time partially in order to pay for the expenses at a private high school. But also she is a very lonely girl. We're going to be hearing that refrain a lot through all of this.
Well, it's because she's
Um,
kind of like the untouchable idol. Like, you know, she's not like she's popular, but not popular in that like, oh, she has a lot of friends or she's part of the clique. No, she's popular in terms of like she's like a goddess on Earth. Like she's like a goddess or an idol. Like
yes.
to always be watched and appraised, but never to be touched.
Yes, and on top of that, she has her own issues where her last group of friends from back in middle school got broken up over a dumb flock of geese and relationship drama, and as a result, she's been kind of alone on her own ever since.
Which is fun.
Yeah, and deep down, she's really just a very sweet girl. She's very loyal, somewhat girlish, devoted, prideful. and definitely the type who would only ever open up to a select few people. And it's Haruki who manages to pierce through her armor a little bit by being the one who actually approaches her in terms of something that she actually cares about, which is singing. She adores singing, even though it's something she sometimes somewhat keeps to herself.
I mean, I think the reason for it is it would just add to like the already loneliness she feels
Mhm.
because not is she like pretty, not is she like cute or like multi-talented. Oh, she's also got an amazing singing voice. Like that's like in terms of like the idol image she has, that's just gonna isolate her even more because people put her on a pedestal.
Oh, she has the entire package.
Yeah,
The whole package.
yeah, she is a complete package. Although I think she's a bit too sweet. Like I feel I'd get diabetes if I just hanged around with her.
Well, she's sweet, but she's also the type who's a little clingy. She's also the type who, deep down, she's can actually be, if unwittingly, somewhat manipulative. And
Oh yes.
she always kind of knows, whether she's conscious of it or not, the right move to play. And that's really what sets the whole tragedy in motion in a lot of ways. So she scopes out pretty early on that Kazusa is this absolute piano prodigy who is totally isolated from others, doesn't interact normally with anyone. She figures out very early on that Kazusa is head over heels for Haruki, and Setsuno realizes her own feelings are growing on that matter as well. Haruki himself, we described, he can be a little stubborn. The anime can make it seem as if he is somewhat of a shoo-in, and in some ways he does fit the otaku shoo-in standard, where he's somewhat diligent and rigid and the type of guy who's looking out for one another a lot, and that's all sort of, standard VN fare. This is the main
Yeah,
character
standard
type
Japanese like
deal.
fare. Very. If we're talking about like a character that's very Japanese, like Haruki is very Japanese. Well, like Kazusa, she kind of breaks the mold, along with like Chihaki. Like they kind of like break the mold in many ways. But like Haruki, like initially, like he's very very Japanese. Like
Yes,
I don't think there's like a better word to describe it. Like he's very Japanese. Like I think that's the best way I could describe it. Like it's like
he's very Japanese. He is like a model of what the Japanese would like a student to be, and not in one of these like really twisted ways. Well, oh, if you follow the system rigidly, well, you turn into a monster. No, nothing like that. He is very much like the model citizen. The Japanese school system would, and systems like that would basically try and create. He is steadfast and honest in his dealings. He gets oddly passionate about things when they start to become personal to him. And he shows,
I think
yeah.
what's kind of interesting about that, right, is the visual, especially in the visual novel, like they kind of show how some of those aspects can be like a bad thing, and how some of those aspects do get him into trouble.
Yes, one of the characters notes later on is when he's searching for one of his friends, he is able to lie like mad to people, totally
Oh yeah.
convincing. And you might say, hey, well, it's for a good cause and it's necessary. But it shocks the girl that he can do it with such a straight face and with such intensity to it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Haruki, if he wanted to be, if he was like a con artist, like he'd be a very good con artist. Like he has the
if he,
potential.
yes, as is, his sense of morality would destroy him for doing such a thing.
Oh, you would
But
feel
you're
such
right,
guilt.
he has the talent.
Now that I think, yeah, like Haruki would be like everyone says like his friend like Mr. Chad is like that, but no, like Haruki actually is like like he'd be the perfect con man. Like he has the
Hmm.
potential. Like you could like if you took his character in a different direction, like I could totally see Haruki doing that because like he has the drive and he has the skills. Like this dude has charisma.
He does in a certain odd capacity. And it's also his absolute meddlesomeness, to a degree which is somewhat unusual. I'd say you might say it's his most un-Japanese characteristic. He is, as mentioned, the only person who gives a crap or talks to Kazusa, the piano prodigy, the
Which I'm just gonna tell
beautiful.
you.
Haruki is the type who, like, very earnestly meddles in other people's lives, and not just in terms of, hey, get this done, assignment done, hey, you need to do this, but once both Kazusa and Setsuna start showing the interior of their lives to him, he becomes inevitably fascinated by them and intimately really involved with them, and really trying to do his best for them. One of the things that really gets the ball rolling with Setsuna is Setsuna confesses to her past and her loneliness and the whole issues of how she lost a bunch of friends, and she's worried about that happening again. And all of a sudden, Haruki promises her, "Hey, I'll never leave you, Setsuna," which of course ends up being this hugely prophetic statement on his part, a statement, a promise, which will haunt him for much of the rest of his time after this. And as a result of that, that's really when Setsuna starts to, I'd say, totally fall in love with him at that point, very, very earnestly. And you can really imagine and see how it happens on her side of things. But at the same time, what happens with Setsuna is Haruki also has to take his little music lessons from Kazusa. They gradually get a lot closer. Eventually, Setsuna starts to realize she's sort of the one cueing in at them. That Haruki ends up staying over at her place, at Kazusa's place for a little bit for intensive music training and whatnot. And they're basically doing like 8-hour study sessions of just music every day,
Yeah,
if
it's
not longer.
yeah, and it's
And
and that's the thing. What the other thing about Haruki is like the drive. Like the dude has a grind set.
yes, he does have a tremendous drive if you get him up. And so Setsuna gets really upset when she finds out that Haruki's been staying at Kazusa's place unannounced, and she passes this off as like, oh, this is just my phobia of being left out and everything and all that. But really, she's worried about her man being stolen away.
Yes, because the thing with like Setsuna and Kazusa is that both of them are kind of like equal in many terms, like equal in terms of like attractiveness, personality, and all that shit. Like it's just, I mean, Setsuna doesn't think that Haruki would cheat on her, but the temptation is there.
Well, at this point, neither has confessed to one another, and there's no relationship per se.
No.
And Setsuna is very worried that Kazusa will essentially get in the first strike. And it's with good reason. As close as Haruki is with Setsuna, as much as he really gets along with her, as much as he really is tremendously supportive of her and her of him, and they get along well, he has a natural intimacy with Kazusa that he doesn't quite have as strongly with Setsuna.
Yeah,
Kazusa.
the three of them feel very much like like three peas in a pod. But you can tell with like Kazusa, like it comes off like a lot more natural than say like than him with Setsuna.
Yes, in particular, the two of them like bicker constantly amongst each other, with both of them sometimes being like quite harsh with one another, yet no hard feelings are taken. Setsuna herself notes that Haruki will have this tendency where he will praise the hell out of Kazusa and then fill it with all these caveats and then complain about her and then fill up his complaints with little small praises of Kazusa all through it, as if to hide it and make it seem like he's not totally infatuated with her, which he is.
Yeah, he totally is. I mean, we'll tackle that when we get to it. But like,
Well, I mean, we're like, so Haruki ends up writing this whole little bit.
oh, that's
Writes out.
yeah, that
Yes,
song.
he writes out the song Todo Kanai Koi. Unreachable Love. It's one of the main songs in the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a great song. By the way, it's also very
It's
popular in universe as well, which is great.
it's a really nice song, and it is an unrequited love song, unambiguously written towards Kazusa. Kazusa did the music, he did the lyrics, but none of them really dwell on why this was written. He just says, "Oh, it was written thinking about someone," and Haruki's kind of vague, but it was obvious enough that even like some onlookers are able to figure it out and go, "Oh, that's what's going on here."
Yeah, even like Chad
They
Coon and his other female friend like are always like, oh,
EO.
Yeah, EO. Sorry, like her,
Yeah,
like a name like hers doesn't come up too often. Like in fucking like EO. It doesn't come. It's really short, but like yeah, like even like EO like
yes.
figures out like, oh, that's what's going on. Oh,
Yes. And the result is the whole play, their whole little band performance at the festival comes to an end. It's a great success. They're named first place, etc. And Setsuna, initially, she thinks, oh, we're all just friends. I'm not gonna do it. Something changes her mind, and she decides to confess to Haruki at the end of at the end of the day there. And she just knowing and fearing that Kasasa could effectively swipe him up, she decides to go into for the kill first, knowing that someone like Haruki, who does like Setsuna, who has no romantic experience, and who doesn't think for a minute that Kasasa could like him, that there is no way in hell he was going to reject Setsuna.
no. And like in his defense, like Setsuna is a very pretty good catch. Like he couldn't do any worse.
No, it is a continual refrain from a number of the characters that Setsuna is the best girl you could ever ask for. You are never going to find a better woman.
I mean, yeah, I do
They say
like
that
her, but
repeatedly.
I know they repeat that. Like, I hate how this fucking game guilt trips you when you cheat on her. Like, fuck you, game.
Yes, this game is wonderful in terms of being an absolute roller coaster ride of a lump in your stomach, where you get to see the ways in which these hard choices really push horrifying circumstances on these characters and also just mentally destroy them, but also the difficulty of these choices. And it's at this point, well, I guess we'll get to that. So Haruki decides to go along with this, but even so, he still has feelings and
Yeah, his
thoughts about Kazusa.
the wandering eye.
Kazusa starts to distance herself from the main three because she can't stand watching the man she loves go around being lovey-dovey with another. She can't stand it.
I mean, it's very understandable why. And also, she doesn't want to be a third wheel as well. There's that aspect as well.
I don't think she'd mind being a third wheel if there were no feelings there, but I think the fact that it's evidently shown that the fact that she is a third wheel and that her loved one, the one she wants to be with, is with another, and it's being pushed in her face so often, is driving her mad. And
Understandably so.
Setsuna in a very twisted way, like she wants to keep the group together despite all this. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. She's really fond of Kazusa. She finds her more
Like,
so
they're
than
incredibly
Kazusa is of
like.
her.
I mean, they're incredibly close. Like, they're almost like sisters.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. There's a quote early on where Kazusa basically says, "We'll either be best friends or mortal enemies." Kind of true. And
But isn't that like women in general?
but Kazusa in particular, but Setsuna's very fond of Kazusa because she's that classic type where she puts on a tough face, but deep down she's pouting, she wants away, and she's very avoidant, and she's just a very cute figure overall. And it's easy to see how someone from a much more stable background like Setsuna, who's a little bit more emotionally mature, how much and also a very open and empathetic girl. It's easy to see how much she'd latch on to a girl like Kazusa and want to sort of like look after her in a way. But the result of that, Kazusa is being driven nuts. All of a sudden, she gets a call from her mother, the same mother who she thought had abandoned her, who had generally not shown her much affection, who 3 years ago had suddenly told her, "You're not good enough to come with me to Europe to play piano." And she's been stewing in anger and rage and bitterness ever since. Kazusa has. Kazusa's mother suddenly calls her up and says, "I watched your performance. It was very impressive. I'd like for you to come to Europe and learn piano under me." And sets Kazusa's all of a sudden given this very hard choice. Well, from her perspective, not that hard in the moment. It seems like her relationship with Haruki has gone nowhere, and she decides, yeah, okay, I'll gladly go over to you. And of course, in her classical fashion, she is a very avoidant type, and she's also very much the type who tries to keep her own self very private. She tries to keep her own issues very private, her own sufferings very private. And so she only tells Setsuna and Haruki that she's leaving very last minute, basically planning to not see them again. Haruki tracks her down during all this, and he asks her pointedly, "Why are you leaving me? Is this all you are to me?" And his feelings naturally start flowing out a little in such a dramatic moment, and she's forced to admit her own feelings, and he forces a kiss on her. She slaps him away and runs off because she doesn't want to. She doesn't
She
want to
wanted this,
destroy
but she,
Setsuna's
yeah, well,
life.
she wanted this, but not like this.
Yeah, but even so, Kazusa does what's going to be a classic of her character. She decides to essentially call up Haruki right outside his apartment and she has to say her last goodbye. And she does this classic thing where she pretends she doesn't want to see someone. It always arranges things so that she's just close enough, so if they just look the right way, well, maybe there's that tantalizing hope that they'll reach out in some way.
I mean,
She's fundamentally
it's kind of bait.
Yes, it's very bait. Kazusa is like she's fundamentally passive, but at the same time, she will put herself out there where she's like waiting and just hoping that the other party will notice and do what she secretly desires them to do. And in this case, Haruki does notice that she's down there. He brings her up. They bang.
Apparently, she
Of
wasn't walking
particular
straight up.
note.
Apparently, she wasn't. Apparently, like in the anime showcase, that she wasn't walking right afterwards. So, yeah.
Yes, she waddles out of his apartment and she can barely walk. It says quite a little bit.
Yeah, apparently Haruki was just
Yeah,
concealing his crouching dragon, apparently, behind his
yeah.
power level.
Haruki, in order to do all this, he misses Setsuna's birthday party, which just so happens to be on Valentine's Day, of course.
Oh no, bros. Oh no.
Yeah. She made like everything up and he couldn't make it. He catches a cold, lies to her about why he couldn't have come over. And then he meets up with Kazusa at the airport. He starts to confess to Setsuna about the things that he's done. And Setsuna's kind of doesn't know how to feel. She's still supportive of him and
She
she
literally
understands it.
he
Well,
literally he literally cheated on her own fucking birthday, man. Like Jesus, that's gotta hurt.
But Setsuna herself, she doesn't blame him, or at least that's what she says. She says, "No, this is equally my fault," or she even says, "This is more my fault," because she says, "I knew going in, I knew your feelings for Kazusa and everything, and I'm the one that inserted myself between two lovers, and so this is me being punished and all that." And I do think she believes some of that quite earnestly.
Yeah, and this is, and by the way, this is where like kind of like the anime cuts off. Like the anime kind of stops around this point, so you're left with what's gonna happen?
We didn't get to the very end here, and this is intro chapter, which is fully covered through the anime. And they finally do make their way into the airport looking for Kasasa. And Haruki at this point is saying, no, we shouldn't be doing this. She's left. She wants to leave. I shouldn't be looking for her. And Setsuna's going, no, she's our friend. We have to say her off. I want to see you one last time, please. And then Haruki catches a glimpse of her, runs straight at her, yelling, Toma!
You're not giving much justice. He speeds at her like a like a roadrunner on roadrunner cocaine, and shouts at the top of his lungs, "Tama!" He shouts. Everyone in the airport turns towards him. His thundering roars and cries echoing through the airport.
And then he tongue kisses her right in front of Setsuna.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. By the way, that is going to be the thumbnail of this video, by the way.
And then you have this scene, this very strange and wonderful scene afterwards, where Haruki is on the rooftop watching Kazusa's plane fly off, quite possibly never to see her again. And Setsuna is on his back, is leaning against him. She's saying, hey, Haruki, if you don't want me, if you don't need me, then just push me away. Otherwise, I'm going to stay here and comfort you. And that only crushes him more.
Yeah, so this is where and this is, sorry, I was jumping the gun a bit before, but like, yeah, this is where like the anime it leaves off. Like, it just leaves you with this giant fucking cliffhanger. Like,
yeah, and what makes it great is, to a certain degree, it is a self-contained story. It's a tragedy, and you see the conclusion of that tragedy. But that in itself is not the end.
Oh no,
Closing
no, no.
chapter.
Oh no, no, monsieur. It is only the beginning.